You are watching all of these space YouTube videos. You cannot get enough about space, but you're watching as an outsider. You don't actually have a space career. Maybe you want to consider turning your space hobby into a space career. I'm Laura Forsick. I'm the Executive Director of Astrolytical. I'm also the only space career coach that caters to mid and high level professionals. Here are 5 ways that you can turn your space hobby into a space career. Number 1 is get informed. And that's what you've been doing, right? You've been watching all of these space YouTube videos, you are reading articles, you are really soaking in the space news. You might even be on social media or message boards chatting about news all the time. YouTube is a great source for this. There are plenty of really great space YouTubers out there. I do want to caution you that there is also a lot of space misinformation, especially on YouTube. Check out the backgrounds of the people that you're listening to or the space news source that you're watching, but making sure that you're getting accurate information. And for this reason, I recommend getting the majority of your space news through articles. It's a lot easier to verify that an article comes from a reputable source if it's from like space.com, spacenews.com. Check out this video where I actually talk about some of the space news sources that I use to become a space expert. Podcasts are another great way to learn about space news. I'm subscribed to close to 100 different podcasts. I'm a bit addicted. One of the great things about podcasts is they tend to either be space news aggregates or interviews within the space industry or both. Articles tend to be a bit more crafted, less off the cuff, but with well-crafted articles, it tends to be more official information. Same with press releases, same with company newsletters. All of those are great ways to get official information. If you're on social media, you can also follow company social media pages to get official information. And there are some daily newsletters that are news aggregates that can really get you some really great headlines. There's way too much space information out there to absorb it all. What you should do is focus on the space sector that you are most interested in. I want you to get a bit more targeted into the areas that most interest you. What you want to do is niche down a little bit within space, because if you want to turn your space hobby into a space career, then you need to have a particular expertise that you're going to go work. A particular expertise that a company or organization is going to hire you to do. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. So number 2 is getting involved. You may or may not already be involved in some space organizations. You may not even know that you can join space organizations. I was recently talking to someone who didn't know that they could join National Space Society, for example, Planetary Society. There are a lot of groups out there that you can join. There's no barrier to entry. There are ones that are general, like National Space Society, very, very general. There are ones that are more specific, space law, space medicine. Find the one that's a good match for you and go ahead and join. Start to get involved in what they're doing. That could also mean volunteering. There's a lot of leadership organizations, either on the national level or on a regional level, with a lot of these groups that you could get involved in. There's also working groups and committees. Again, almost all of them are volunteer, so you have to pace yourself. But if you find that you really connect with a certain organization and what they're doing and you want to help, go ahead and sign up go ahead and offer your services, your labor, even if you've got no training. And that is something you can put on a resume. Volunteer experience is experience. So depending on the level of your involvement, you could potentially put that on your resume as experience. A lot of these professional organizations also have conferences and meetings. There are so many conferences and meetings in the space sector. I did a video earlier this year on space conferences and meetings that you don't want to miss. So you go ahead and check that video out if you're interested. If you don't have a huge travel budget, I recommend looking at any conferences that are in your area, that are drivable, that you don't have to spend a whole lot of time and money to get to. Or if money is not an issue, then you go ahead and find the ones that resonate with you. Again, niche down a little bit and figure out what's the right conference for you to attend to get more involved in the area you want to work in, and register for those conferences. Anybody can register to attend a conference as long as it's not invitation only. Having been on the organization team of a lot of conferences, I can tell you that one of the big concerns of a conference is at least breaking even on expenses, if not making a little bit of a profit. And they do so by selling tickets to the conference, registration, as well as sponsorship. And you would be another registrant that they would welcome, as well as the fact that they can say, we had X number of registrants last time we held this conference, and they can bring that to sponsors and say, this is how many people we expect to see your advertisement, your promotion, your banner, whatever. So trust me, they want you to register for these conferences. Even if you have never done anything space related before, you are welcome. And that is actually a reoccurring thing that I hear from people who are coming from outside the space sector, who attend conferences, attend meetings, attend networking events, is that space is very, very welcoming. It's not like some other industries that are very cutthroat or very closed off. Space is uniting. Space is something that people tend to be very passionate about and therefore are willing to talk to just about anyone about. As you go to these conferences, and I do recommend the in-person ones over the virtual ones. The virtual ones are great for getting information, staying involved. The in-person conferences are where you can really network. And I do have a video here on networking at conferences. You can meet people who can have a direct impact on your career, who can help you to find where you belong next and help you to get that next role or that first role in the space sector. So number 3 is applying for jobs. You would not believe the numbers of people that I know who have said, I have always wanted to work in space, but I didn't think it was for me, and they have never even tried to apply. Go ahead and look to see what's out there that's in your particular expertise. And I'm going to talk about if you want to switch expertise, if you have always wanted to study astrophysics, but you have no physics background, there's some things you need to do first before you go ahead and apply for something completely different from what you currently do. But right now, with whatever your expertise is, you can find a role for that in the space sector. I guarantee it, no matter what. Business, finance, communications, art. I have worked with so many different clients from so many different backgrounds, and whatever your background is, whatever your expertise, whatever your education, there is a role for you in the space sector. If you are stopping yourself from applying because you feel hesitant, well, don't. Applying is the very first step. And you can always reach out to me for space career coaching. The link is down below. We have a lot of options that can help you to learn where to apply, how to best present yourself, how to network, how best to interview, all of these different things that you might be worried about, we got you covered. What you want to do is play to your strengths. There are way more people who work in space who do not come from a space background initially than people realize. The numbers of people who come from outside the industry into space is actually quite a bit. But people don't realize this. And so they think that they are too late or they're not good enough or whatever. And I want you to put all of that behind you and just start applying. Don't apply to everything. I have another video that talks about not applying to every single space job out there and being a bit more discerning. You can check out that video as well. There are some professions out there where it might be easiest for you to actually start your own company, start as an entrepreneur. I already mentioned space law. There are a lot of lawyers who find themselves running their own law firms and going more and more towards space law. Marketing, recruiting, communications, these are all areas where starting your own small company can actually be beneficial. If you are wanting to completely switch gears, you have no engineering background and you want to be an aerospace engineer or something like that, you can't just apply to engineering jobs or very technical jobs unless you do have that background. So you might want to go back to school and get another degree. Most of my clients actually don't need this. Most of my clients find a way into the space sector with the existing education and experience they already have. But if this is some dream of yours where you've always wanted to work in astrophysics, and my background is in astrophysics, and in grad school I actually met a man who was a retired lawyer in his 50s who was getting an astrophysics degree because it's never too late. You go ahead and do that. It truly is never too late for you to go after that passion. Of course, it does depend on a lot of things. Are you able and willing to spend that money to go part-time or quit your job, to spend those years studying to get that extra degree? It might be a bachelor's degree, it might be a master's, it might be some kind of certification. I have yet another video for you to watch if you're curious about certifications and whether or not you should bother to get them. So you can check that video out. Most certifications in most areas you are not going to help you. So I would not actually recommend going after certifications unless you're in a specific industry where certifications are really important, such as software engineering and cybersecurity and those kinds of areas. Those certifications, often associated with online courses, they are good for getting you extra information. And there are loads of online courses out there in the space sector, some of them free, some of them cost money. So you can check that out and put that under the category of staying informed. But just know that they're probably not going to help you on your resume getting a job unless you're in a particular field where it is important for you to have up-to-date certifications on your skill set. The fifth and most important thing for you to turn your space hobby into a space career is to actually make the decision to commit to doing so. You would not believe the numbers of people that I speak to who say, I want to work in space, but I don't have the time right now. I don't have enough information right now. Now's not the right time. Maybe later. They wait months, years, literally years. I've literally had people who I've been communicating with for years who've come to me to say that they want to work in space, but not made the decision to take the action to do so. You're going to get older no matter what. So where do you want to be in a year? Do you want to be closer to your dream of working in space, or maybe even landing that job and working in space? Or do you want to be still dreaming a year from now? Most of the time, they are scared or overwhelmed and they just don't know what to do. I highly recommend reaching out to ask for help. It could be me. It could be someone in your life who you feel you can trust, someone who you feel like can give you the encouragement and support you in your endeavor to work in space. Again, you can always reach out to me. The links are down below for my website and social media. I have a system in place to help people like you. The majority of my clients come from outside the space sector who want to work in the space sector. So don't put off your dream any longer. Start today. And if you have way too many space interests and you just don't know where to start, check out this video next, because I talk about what to do if you've got too many space interests and you don't know how to narrow it down.